Hi everybody, welcome to Dice Commando. I'm Amy.
And I'm Andrew, and today Amy and I will be going over a new game out of New Zealand called Flesh and Blood trading card game. Hey guys, and welcome to Go Again, the fabulous cast here focusing on Flesh and Blood TCG. So for those of you who are new to the Dice Commando channel, welcome. And for those of you who have come from other videos, some of our other stuff, Star Wars Destiny or Argent Saga, welcome and thanks for joining us again. So what we wanted to do is today talk about a new game that Amy and I are getting into, we're checking out that is, and we just kind of wanted to do a quick rundown of what the game is and what we're going to be doing with it. So as I alluded to in the intro, this is made by Legendary Story Studios, and they are a Kiwi company, so go Kiwis. This game is relatively new, actually just released October 14th, so just about a week ago, a little more than a week ago. It's pretty
really new.
Really new from its official release. I mean, obviously they've been teasing and stuff for several months, but this game has really come out swinging internationally, but has pretty much flown under the radar in the US. I only found out about it a couple weeks ago. Got in touch with the company, and then they actually sent us some of the product here. They actually sent us one of each demo deck, so we'll be doing an unboxing video for each one of those. They sent us some packs and a really sweet playmat, which I think was unexpected. So that was really nice. So for those of you who are in the competitive scene, these guys are definitely coming out swinging from that aspect. They have a series of 10K tournaments. That's $10,000 prize pool tournaments that are already announced. They have one on October 27th, so like just right around the corner in Auckland, New Zealand. That's actually where this company is from. They have one in November 9th in Sydney, Australia. Then in November 17th, they have one in New Jersey, USA. And on December 8th, they have one in Austin, Texas, which is also USA, although the Texans would disagree. And then there's 2021s that are on the radar but not quite scheduled yet, again in Auckland and then in Melbourne. So very interesting from a competitive standpoint. They're definitely looking out and coming to try and make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
But for those of you who are, again, joining us for the first time, the Dice Commando, kind of what our channel is all about is bringing in new players to these type of games, right? So I myself, I've been playing games forever, but how long have you been playing games for?
Only about 2 years, I guess maybe 3 years now.
Yeah, that's true. I guess Destiny's been out for almost 3 years now, yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah, so Amy is relatively new, and that's why I think we'll be a good team looking at this new game, is because this game has aspects that I think can appeal to both new players and really existing players, right? It kind of falls into that easy to learn, hard to master, or at least from what we can tell. But again, we haven't really got our hands into the cards, so I think we're all just going to be kind of learning together, and I'm very excited about that. So what do you think makes this game very approachable to a new player?
Well, it's just cards, and you start with a character in play, right, and a weapon. Like you kind of start with your board set, from what it sounds like. I'm interested about though, like only having one weapon all the time, and really kind of the strategy behind the arsenal too, because I think you can only put one card down on that.
Yeah, well, it's really a storage effect, right? Like, so just bringing everybody up to speed, right? So really the mechanics of this game is if Amy and I are playing each other, we each have our character in play, we each have some weapons, and we basically just sit and punch each other in the face for the game, and whoever's left standing wins the game. There's not a whole lot more fundamentally concept about it, right? That's what you're doing.
Defend and attack.
You're not buying other units. You're not ramping into tanks or horses or whatever it may be in other games, right? You're just playing cards to basically make attacks against your opponent. You're just attacking and defending back and forth. So, you had mentioned that each person has a weapon or weapons.
They can have multiple?
Yeah, the ninja guy actually has two, right? So what we're showing here, Dorinthia Iron Song, who's super cool, and her signature Dawn Blade, which is her signature weapon. And you see at the bottom there, it says Warrior Weapon Sword 2H. That means it's a two-handed sword. The ninja guy actually has two one-handed swords, right? So he can attack multiple times, right? So what we think will make this very accessible to new players is the quote-unquote start full mechanic, and that's actually a mechanic that they have coined for this game, right? So you're not worrying about ramping into more weapons and equipment and building your board state. You actually start with a helmet, a chest. You start with your equipment in play. You can have a helmet, a chest plate, something for your arms, something for your feet, and then
protective armor.
Right, one or two weapons, right? So you start with all that equipment in play, and then what's in your deck is just the attacks and blocks that you're going to be using to attack and defend. So, all right, so currently there are 4 heroes, although some of them are more heroic than others, it would appear. But could you walk us through the heroes, please?
Okay, so the first one is the one we already posted up, who's a warrior. So she's super strong, clean, bright, heroic, I guess you could say.
I mean, she looks awesome. And I'm going to be playing this one, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
And then it sounds like she also could focus on multiple weapon attacks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what you see in her effect is that when her weapon hits multiple times, it does different things, right? So you have to assume that there's going to be cards associated with allowing her weapon to hit multiple times, right?
Yeah, so, and like different sets of the chain.
Right.
Those 3.
Right, yeah. All right, next is the not-so-heroic hero. So who's this guy?
A brute, which he pretty much looks like.
Yep. It's actually really good art, even though it kind of looks gross. Like it's well done, but I mean I think that's the point is to make him look gross. But it's pretty good. So
he's got a lot of horns sticking out of everywhere.
Well he's killed stuff, right? And he's wearing.
Oh, those are animal skins.
Yeah. So, but you know, brute pretty much says it all. It's just gonna swing for big clobbering hits, right? So I don't imagine a lot of. Like probably he's just going to play a big card and punch in the face and then turn over, right? I don't think he's going to be hitting for multiple times, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure if you can hit multiple times with something big, that'll be good as well.
All right, next we have the Guardians. He looks kind of like a prince.
I think he's a circus guy, I think.
I could see that. Yeah. Can see that. Okay, so he's super strong, limits opponents' counterattacks.
Right. So basically he's supposed to hit and kind of stop the opponent from defending, at least with multiple cards, right? And then last, we've got Katsu the Wanderer. He's the ninja, right? That's the guy we were talking about with the double blade. So, with the ninja, I think really it's just many small attacks with tons of go again mechanics. And that's why we've titled this Go Again. Go again is a huge keyword because that allows you to play a card and then play another card. And as long as you have go again, you can keep laying stuff down on your opponent, right?
Yep.
So one of the things that, as I've started digging into this game, that also really attracts me is the resource system. The resource system is card-based. So what we're showing right here is Steel Blade Shunt, but I mean, we're just picking any card. But what you'll notice on there is that the resources are actually generated by this card. So at the beginning of the turn, you have X number of cards in your hand. Right now, all of the warriors have the same hand size, at least to start. Or I shouldn't say all of the warriors, I say all of the heroes, sorry. All the heroes have the same number of cards, so you actually have to pitch a card from your hand to gain resources to play the other attacks that you may want to do, including sometimes the weapons have it. One of the card mechanics I really like is that strip that they have on the top there actually also associates with the number of resources, so that it's kind of just a quick system. And it also works really well because the way you're supposed to lay your pitched cards for resources is you just kind of lay them down and then you can quickly look and see how many you've generated that turn, which I think is really cool. But then the card itself can either be played for a game effect, right? What you'll see on this particular one is it's a defense reaction. So in reaction to an attack, you could play it to generate 6 defense. But really the point of what we're talking about here is the resource generation. It's, you're not looking at huge ramp because you can still only make so much money. You're really only going to use the money that you're needing to be paid for because you can actually only pitch to make something when you're trying to play something. So you don't really need to worry about traditional ramp that we see in many other games where you just kind of tank up and then do the board state. It really is about playing the game back and forth.
Yeah. Well, another thing about when you pitch a card too is it will eventually go back in your deck.
Correct.
Too, so it's not, you're not pitching it out of the game entirely.
Right.
So you'll see it again, most likely, it sounds like.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the selling points of their game, actually, is they say you should count on seeing every card in your deck at least once. Right?
Yeah.
Probably more than that, depending on how long the game goes. And then what I'm showing in the bottom here is actually the 3 different versions of Steel Blade Shunt. And this is kind of cool. So you'll notice that the red one has 1 resource. The yellow one has 2 resources. And the blue one is worth 3 resources. But to balance this, right, so instead of just making it an arms race where you would always want to play with the 3 version resource, which of course would inherently make sense. You want to make more for 1 pitch. but the one with more resources is actually a weaker card. It actually generates less defense, right? So that's kind of cool, is that you have a higher resource production, but it's balanced by the card being not as good in game. So I think there's a lot of nuanced deck effect or deck building effects there that will keep more advanced players in the game. I think that's a very good mechanic. So we'll have to see how it goes. Interestingly enough, something I saw online today is that each one of these cards is considered to be a different card. So you could actually, in deck building, you're allowed 3 of the same card in your deck, but because each one of them is considered to be different, you could actually play with 9 copies of Steelblade Shunt, because they're actually different copies of Steelblade Shunt. Mm-hmm. So I pity the guy who tries to make deck building software for this, or a deck building website for this, because you're going to have to come up with each version, right? So anyway, again, we didn't want to go through too much of the mechanics of the game, just kind of what attracts us and give people kind of a general overview. So that's pretty much it. Do you have, what are you thinking about on this, on just very early impressions?
I'm really curious on how the strategy is going to work with like the cards and just having those, like that one weapon potentially, right? And just sort of how you would end up building the deck. And what really I'm most curious about, what you'd put in that arsenal. Like what makes sense to put in that arsenal, because you can only put one card and then you can only play those cards.
So could you explain the arsenal, just 10,000 foot view of the arsenal for those that don't know what we're talking about?
So what I know from the intro video that I watched was that
and we'll link to their intro video on the website as well,
is that you can take a card from within your hand before the end of the round, and you can set it face down in what they call the arsenal. And it sounds like you can only ever put one card there.
Right. And it's basically just a storage cabinet, right?
Yeah. So you can pull then a full hand on your next round to get as many cards going through the system as you can. But then once you put it in that arsenal, you can only play it, which I think they made it sound like in an attack form is the only time you really play a card. Right. So like kind of figuring
the point
out
being
the
that
strategy.
You can't pitch it for resources. You have to actually play the card itself.
Yes. Yeah. So the strategy of what type of card do you put in that arsenal?
I think it's an interesting mechanic, not just as you mentioned, just to increase your turnover, because again, when you're using cards as both resources and playing, card management is going to be a huge skill in this game. Yeah. Right.
And you only get 4 cards in your hand at one time, so you don't get a lot of cards.
Right. And so in addition to having that just as an attack, it can also enable combos, right? Because when you're only looking at 4 cards in your hand, say you need the 2 cards in your deck to line up to pull off some combo, it'll let you kind of store and pull that off. So I think that'll set up for some very neat chains. But again, we'll have to explore it and see. So anyway, that's pretty much going to wrap it up. So again, Amy and I are just going to be learning this as we go. We have not even opened the cards yet because we just wanted to do this, and we'll go through. So we'll do unboxing videos. We'll do Fabulous Fridays seems to be the plan right now, where we do some recorded games. So join us. Come learn the game with us. We will be actually demoing the game this weekend for those of you in the Portland, Oregon, USA area. If you're not, you can always fly, but it's probably not worth it. But we have these demo decks, so we'll be playing with the demo decks on Saturday, just kind of checking it out. So if you want to join us at Gongai from 4 to 5, and we actually have a couple demo decks to give away because the company was nice enough and they sent us some extras. So in the meantime, if you like what we're doing here or you want to know more about the game, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out our other games as well. And of course, I'll link to thefabtcg.com, which is where you can get more information about this game. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope. That's it. Go Commando.
Go Commando.